Thank you, Mr. Emmerich. As always, thank you everyone for being here and participating in your local township government. Okay, we'll begin with the review. We have 2 sets of minutes to review. As most of you who were here know, we had a special meeting on Thursday. As Mr. Kavanaugh and Mr. Troyan had the opportunity to look over the minutes.
Yeah, you're starting with the Thursday.
Let's start with the Thursday special meeting while it's still fresh in our minds.
Well, I didn't see anything, so I'll make a motion to approve unless anybody else has anything.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Matsko?
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Gene,
Yes.
who made that motion?
Mr. Troyan?
Who seconded?
I did.
Mr. Kavanaugh?
I'll get it.
You got it. Take your time. Take a deep breath. And now we will review the minutes from the November 21st meeting. Are there any additions, corrections from either of my associates?
I had one correction, I'll check to see if it got implemented, it said it did. Okay. Yep, my correction was added, that was, they had wildflower garden for that Elena DeWitt project, and we corrected it to pollinator garden, help save bees and butterflies. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mike,
Matsko?
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Gene,
Yes. We're going to go on to guests this evening. Mr. Troyan, do we want to go with Mr. Blazer from the fire department, or do we want to take the 2 applicants for,
I think we should take the 2 applicants,
I was thinking, that's why I asked.
I think that would be more
Is-
expedient.
Is Greg Lackey and Morris Wine here?
Right here. Yes,
You're
and
both here.
yeah.
Okay, I'll let you run this, Mr. Troyan, since you're the member that knows what's going on in those boards.
Okay, well, we have a couple of applicants here, and I just wanted them to come in, tell us what they're interested in, which boards, just so everybody have a chance to put a name with the face. So we'll start out with Greg Lackey.
I was interested in the zoning commission, and really don't have any experience, but want to get more involved in local government and see if I can help out.
Okay, appreciate that. And Morris Wine.
My dad is, I think, a stand-in on the zoning commission, so that's what I had heard about. There was an opening, he'd asked me to come in, so I guess that, but I'm also kind of just willing to help however, get involved however. When I lived in Athens for school, I would go to the city council meetings and stuff to write reports on it, and I always thought those were kind of fun, even just kind of getting behind the scenes, being involved, so really just whatever time I have and however I can help, I'm kind of down with whatever, so.
Okay, well, we appreciate it.
Are both of you able to attend these meetings?
Is it the first or second Thursday of each month? I know it was a Thursday, or like every other Thursday or something like that.
Commission was meeting twice a month, and
We're down to once a month.
it depends on what's on the burner. you
Okay.
know.
Yeah, so, as it, worst case would be twice a month, so you'd wanna budget time for that.
Okay.
And,
Is it always a Thursday night?
yes.
Yes.
So if that's your bowling night or something, you're in the wrong place, right?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I went to one meeting with my dad before, it was on a Thursday, but just so one.
Okay,
You are a resident of Auburn?
Yeah, I think I'm still registered at my parents' house technically on Ravenna, but I actually live next to Cerna's on Washington Street. So yeah, it was literally just like just a minute down the road from here.
I appreciate you guys coming, and like I said, typically we would have a series of interviews and executive session, but any more executive sessions, they're just not worth doing it anymore, so we're just doing everything in the public unless
Yeah, no.
somebody tells us otherwise, because Now see, if we'd done this and you would've said the same thing in an executive session, everybody would be having a, what are they doing, what are they, okay,
Yeah.
so now we're just introducing.
Cool.
So, okay, appreciate you guys coming in. If you wanna stay and watch the excitement, you're more than welcome. If you have some previous engagements, you are free to leave. Your call.
All right, I'll probably say at least for a bit.
Okay.
I think I may take off, then you'll let us know, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we make appointments at the organizational meeting first, we're gonna set that date tonight, but somewhere around the first week of January.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate both of you for being active in township government. Okay, Mr. Blazer.
Mr. McGinn, thank you guys for having me tonight. Unfortunately, you got third string, both the president and vice president were busy on their other. You should have received, purpose to be here tonight is you should have received our 2023 projected budget. I dropped it off last week for the MC. She said she would make sure that got disseminated to all of you. Yes, I'm here, is there any questions on the budget that I could potentially clear up any questions?
Being more familiar with this than most of the guys, I'm good, but they may wanna have some questions. What's up, just, I meet with them on a monthly basis, and,
Yeah.
the budget over time, they monitor it from year to year, and each individual section, kinda gets tweaked on an annual basis. You start, as equipment gets older, the repairs go up on that, so it comes down, so.
We look at past year's performances within the budget and try and modify them based upon that. Sometimes that's not the best way, because we will have anomalies that will either create a false high or a false low that particular year. So with that being said, we did apply some inflation factors to the budget this year based upon, guess what, inflation. So we are up a little bit over the norm. There are a number of, excuse me, there's a number of grant opportunities we're continuing to pursue. A lot of them come across my desk. There's a number we can try to make use of. We're more actively reviewing any proposed purchases. We're trying to separate wants from needs. So, yeah, we just kind of more of the same. It's just a little more scrutiny on it now since things are getting, if you want to call it, a little tighter, a little closer.
How concerned are we with this net income being in the red?
Not too at this point. We've taken active steps to increase the EMS billing. We found out some further changes we can make within what we do operationally, which can net us another, Chief, you deal with that more than me, another 4 to 7% based on the signature lines.
At least 7%.
At least 7%. We did not factor that in because that was a late change from them, okay? So again, I don't know that we're going to actually hit that potential mark. We got kind of aggressive this year trying to do some other projects and stuff. I don't know that we're going to be able to get them all to fruition, either because of manpower and or funding, okay? Some of these are looking at, we're late in the year, so we can kind of analyze where we're at, and is there a necessity to take something that we've got projected maybe for, September, October, November, and refigure that based upon, we don't know what June is like until we get to June, so.
Okay. My report was going to be on the contract. So if you guys don't mind, I'll step on here before you get in and do my report first.
Okay.
If you all go back a few meetings when we were talking about the ARPA funds,
Right.
we were initially trying to do it like the CARES Act and simply sub-grant to the fire department. The prosecutor said that that would not work with the ARPA funds. What we looked into is that ARPA funds can be used for services. Since we contract with the fire department is a service. So, we can utilize it in that respect. Now, our initial thoughts were for the projects, which, I have that in here for the,
Radios,
Right.
air pack bottles.
yeah, I was looking for the, yeah,
Right.
beer pack bottles and the turnout gear. Anyway, the total on that was $239,689.97. So, we could add that to the contract. Okay, and just make a notation that, in the contract, that, yeah, so much of this is, being put in for these projects.
Mhm.
But then, again, now we got a lawyer involved, whether we like it or not. Then it's like, well, what we could put it in there is that each one is an individual line item that has to be implemented within a certain time frame, and if it's not, the funds would revert back to the
Mhm.
township, and it's like, this seems like kind of complex for.
Well, I was
I
gonna
heard
say,
she
I was
wanted-
gonna assume those funds that we, for the phones and stuff, I would assume it's gonna be purchased as soon as they have the money, right?
Okay?
I heard she wanted line items or more specifics.
Yeah, well, I had a long talk with her today. We don't have a total agreement on methodologies, and it's like, you know, the fire department's not gonna like, ooh, we got the money, we're gonna hide it somewhere. They need this stuff, they're gonna buy it. So like I said, we can put in just something in there. How complex, whether there's any time, let's say, for example, something happened, they didn't get the phones bought by November, and the money rolled over into the next year.
Mhm.
What would happen to the funds? Well, if we just do it straight out, say, okay, the funds are yours, we're giving it to you for these projects, if it does roll over in the following year, or comes out early, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't have this tracking, give it back. Now, it's a lot to absorb. I had to absorb this at 3 o'clock this afternoon after hoping I was gonna be getting a contract. So, another option is to say, okay, go ahead with the contract as it sits. Now, the only amendment we had between last year and this year's contract, and we take out the ARPA issue, was the workers' compensation.
BWC, yes.
Yeah, what was the, like 30,000?
Yeah, roughly. I don't
Roughly
think it was that much,
$30,000.
yes.
20,000, just a little over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where that came from is that when we have the levy funds come in, we have a holdback of money on bills that we take care of on the township side. We have always taken care of their workers' compensation. Through a little research this year, we found out they have to have their own workers' compensation, they can't ride on ours. So they have implemented it now, they have their own workers' compensation. So what we're doing is saying, okay, the backup funds that we were paying before, we'll add that into the contract so that they can now pay it. So it's still coming out of the same pocket, but instead of us paying it, they're paying it. So we're just adding that 20,000 to the contract.
Okay, how does that help them buy the phones and?
Oh, that doesn't.
But you're suggesting we sign the contract without?
No, I'm just saying this is an option.
Okay.
I'm going over all the options.
Okay.
I don't want to put anybody on, saying, hey, by the way, you had 30 seconds to think about this, what do you want to do?
Right,
So one option is to say, and that's why I brought up this specific, is we go with the contract as I just described, and then we can roll over into next year and do an amended contract, if we're so inclined. Again, we did an amended contract once,
Mhm.
that was horrible.
Yeah.
From a
but not-
logistics
not-
standpoint.
Again, if it's worth it.
What I would like to do, I think makes the most sense, is you amend the contract and just do it very simply, saying, okay, the contract's gonna be this much, and just put a line in there, of that amount, these are coming from ARPA funds,
Mhm.
list the 3 items on the contract, and leave it at that. We don't give an expiration on it or anything else. If we can get that done, we can get that up to Chrissy, and hopefully she could get that tweaked enough where we can get it signed off at the next meeting. And that's where it becomes time sensitive, is we gotta sign this before the end of the year.
But I thought Chrissy's whole thing was that we just couldn't give them the ARPA funds.
Oh, no.
But you just told them to put in
No,
the
no.
contract that this will be, how
No,
are we doing that?
no,
Tell
we're
me
not,
again.
we can't, sub-grant the ARPA funds like we did,
With the first round.
but we can put the ARPA funds into the contract because we're paying for services. Fire department is a service.
Right.
So you know, you can say, well, really, what's the difference, but legally, this is the difference in how we have to do the ARPA funding.
And what you're hoping for is that Chrissy will sign off on that option? And-
No, I don't care whether she signs off on it. My opinion is, I work with Keith, we're gonna come up with a contract, she's got till the 22nd to approve it, modify it, and we're signing it the way it is. That's my opinion.
Not gonna,
Mr. Kavanaugh?
not gonna speculate on what Chris is gonna, what they're
Oh, I never speculate on what Chrissy's gonna do, that's why.
prosecuting that, with that.
No problem, I can have that prepared for you within a couple of days, probably.
Okay, let's get that together in a couple days. If you have to, you get my number, give me a call.
Will do.
We'll tweak it in the best we can. We know what we're trying to convey. And like I said, we kinda got slowed down because of some other issues over the last couple of weeks. Which kind of, is putting us a little behind the eight ball here. But, I mean, it's, call it what you want, you know, contract wording, it's like, okay, we've been contracting with these guys since the dawn of time, I think somebody's gonna sneak off with our money.
Yeah, and we've had, well, I don't know, you guys just had, what, your 50th, about 60 years now you've been around?
54?
54, okay, so I gotta think there's probably 15 to 20 different prosecutors, maybe more, that have looked at this contract, and now we've gotta make major adjustments.
Well, it used to be one page, now it's four.
Well,
but-
sure, but
But, yeah, we'll get
the
through it.
laws are still pretty much the laws, I'm sure there's been tweaks there too that have been adjusted.
And like I said, that's why I wanted to put out the option saying, okay, we don't do anything right now, wait till after the first of the year so we can go through 4 months of bantering to try to come up with this. But, you know, those are the options. What are your preferences?
Well, I mean, you're the only attorney on the board, and if you think that's the best route to go with this, I don't have a problem with it. I'll be very interested, I think, as Mr. Kavanaugh said, to see what Chrissy says, but I think we should probably, like I said, I'm willing to go that route, but I'm also very interested in what she may say when it comes back.
Yeah, well, I think the way we were going is that she was gonna help us write the contract, and then it turned out, since there were options involved, she really couldn't. So now that we've addressed the options, I think we'll pick the one we feel is the best, implement it, and then that way we can get that in a few days and get that up to her. And now she's got something a little more concrete to work with.
Okay. Does that meet with your approval, Mr. Kavanaugh?
Yeah, you think about how much money has been thrown at small governments across this entire country, and you wonder why these questions are coming up, you know, it's, who didn't see that coming, you know?
Yeah, hard to imagine.
Hard to imagine.
All right, well, we'll work together and we'll get that going just so you guys can get it up there and make a decision.
Okay,
All right?
all right.
Anything else for me to know?
No,
And like I said, you can just, you can email me a copy.
I will.
Email it to Nancy. Once I have a chance to go over it, we can get it right up to Chrissy.
Sounds good. Good, good.
Thank you,
It's
Keith.
been a pleasure.
Thanks, Kate.
remember, the government giveth, and the government taketh away. Okay. Thank you, Keith. Schedule reports, Frank Kinko, zoning inspector.
These gentlemen should all have a copy of the activities for the month of November. We had issued 7 permits. We will have a variance request next week. It'll be kind of interesting because it's, here again, it's under the same lines as bed and breakfast, short-term rental type of deal, but it involves a house that's been, or a series of houses that have been in the township in existence longer than I've been doing this job, as
Wow.
2 dwellings on one parcel of land.
Longer than you would at
But
TP's?
always before it was main structure, agriculture structure, or caretakers, which are allowed under agriculture exemption. Now, new people bought the residence, they wanna rent the second dwelling out as a bed and breakfast, short-term rental. That's a no-no under zoning, so they have requested a variance. And, the Board of Appeals will hear that next Tuesday, week from tomorrow, I believe. But, you know, it's what, over time, it's what happens when farms are dispersed and become subdivisions, and there's no more farming, but yet you have these 2 structures, you have septic tank approval for them and everything else, but, you know, subsequently it changes hands, new buyer got new ideas, and, you know, it'll be interesting to see how the board acts on it, you know, but, here again, if the buyer did his due diligence,
We wouldn't have that
he
problem.
wouldn't have that problem, but, you know, I mean, realtors are very good at, I think if you spend your time dealing with them, they are very good at persuading, oh, you can do this, 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 and this, because, you know, sometimes it's not always true, but, you know, they do it. It's just like deed restrictions. Deed restrictions are only good if there's a homeowners association established and to enforce them, and they're enforced. If the deed restrictions are there, but there's no homeowners association, and they allow one individual to vary from those restrictions, they're all null and void. Like, the simple one is allowing the front door to face the road. Well, there's subdivisions in this township that say garage doors cannot face the main road. But yet, I don't think there's one subdivision that I can think of anyway right now, that there isn't at least one somewhere in that subdivision that the garage door
Hey,
doesn't face the main road.
my subdivision.
The garage doors face the main road in your
No,
subdivision.
no,
You sure?
none of them face the front, they're all to the side.
Well,
Don't ask me why, I mean, we disavowed the homeowners association.
but that was, you
We
know,
did.
and here again, when developers develop, they put these deed restrictions in as a selling point, or, you know, a lot of times, but here again, like I said, if you don't form a homeowners association, and you don't have one, then there is no, you know, and I can't enforce it.
There's no enforcement.
I'm not allowed, it's not, you know, so, I mean, I think I know the Meadows has one, I know,
After we got over 50% in mine, we had a party at my house, we disavowed it, made
Right,
ourselves
that's
a
what
I was
side
gonna
street.
say, there's
Nobody
more,
wanted to be in it.
more of them have been extinguished than exist.
right,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I think, Ascot Park and, what's the other half of Ascot Park, Derbyshire, they have a viable homeowners association that actually meets, you know, and when somebody does something in there, they supposedly are supposed to have homeowners association approval, but here again, I cannot enforce that, you know, as a zoning inspector. I can just make them aware of it. Mary Lambert has, in her subdivisions up there in Moreland, and it's, one of the deed restrictions is a certain percentage of the frontage of the house must be stone or brick. And you can only use certain windows. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the board hears this one.
Well, there's no question, things change.
Oh, yeah.
But you gotta love real estate people. First time I was a trustee, if I had a dime every time a new home owner called me and said their cable didn't work, and I said, you don't have cable. And they said, nope, the real estate lady told me that my house was cable ready. I said, it may be cable ready, but there's no cable here.
Yeah, cable ready.
If you ever get any cable on your street, your house is ready for it.
Okay, any questions for Frank on the board? Any questions for Frank from the audience?
I'm just kinda curious why, like how a rule like no garage facing the road even comes to be, it's not really like a serious question. but-
Back up, in a subdivision, when a developer, let's start back, when a developer plots a subdivision, like Ascot Park or Derbyshire or any of them, the developer usually creates what we call deed restrictions that are supposed to be part of the covenant of the subdivision. And so, okay, as the subdivision develops, over time, the developer maintains control to a certain point. I think it's like 70 or 75%. Once the subdivision reaches 75% capacity, they turn it over to and you form a homeowners association.
Okay.
So the homeowners association, then
Without-
is responsible for enforcing.
Without a homeowners association though, do they just maintain control, the people who built the
No,
development?
no, usually the developer washes his hand and walks away
Okay.
and doesn't want anything to do
And once
with
he's
it.
made his money, he's out of there.
Yeah, so, it's, I mean, if there's somebody personally really wanted to spend the money, they could probably, to a point, try to get them enforced, but it's very difficult. And lawyers have said that if you allow one person to vary, that means everybody can, so,
And not to beat this to death, but way back when I was on zoning in the early 90s, with some guys that had a lot of experience and knew a lot about zoning before, I was the new guy. Architectural review boards were that was the next big thing. And I know home rule townships can do that. Did unincorporated townships ever have the right to do that? I think we do. And I remember talking to Frank about this and several other people, and that's something that we just did not want to get into as a township.
With the
Architectural review,
Okay,
yes. I think it's still out there, I think it's still a tool, but, well, you're hearing some of the examples, how much stone on the front of your house. Do townships really want to get into this kind of thing?
No, yeah, I think
what color?
Yeah, what
design?
color?
I mean, things like keeping your driveway clean and trash and all that stuff makes sense, but.
But
then
it
in
was-
terms of what
it
you
was,
can do.
I don't know locally if any
I don't know if
townships got
anybody-
into that, but
I
it was
know
a
a couple
thing,
of them
it
talked
was a
about
thing
it.
in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of petty
Never
things that are in there
happened.
too.
Yeah, oh, sure.
Like ours, remember the one was, you couldn't have cinder block for your basement, that had to have a brick facade around it.
Right.
Yeah, I want my zoning inspector enforcing.
Yeah, enforcing that.
Well, listen to this. Nancy has called me, well, subsequently, a builder has called Nancy, and she's contacted me 3 times in the last month to do footer inspections. I says, Nancy, I don't do footer inspections. I have to call the building department for that. I said, I make a stakeout inspection or inspection to see where the house sits, but that's not my job to say that the footer has to be so wide and so thick and, it can't have mud and all that. I know what it's supposed to be, but I can't do it. Oh, they want a footer inspection. I said, tell them to call Geauga County.
That's right.
They might have been talking about us, because we had to do footer inspections kind of recently.
Yeah.
Anything else for Frank? Thank you, Frank. Emmett Gordon.
Okay, Auburn Township Road Department Report, November 2022. The month saw 3 weather events that required 3 rounds of plowing and/or salting. A total of 79 tons of de-icing material was used. This puts the new monthly average used for November at 94 tons per November. Currently, we have approximately 1,721 tons of road salt in the dome. One of my conversations with one of our neighbors, we were perusing the contract. In the past, there was a provision in there where the salt had to be delivered in a reasonable amount of time. It used to be 48 hours and it would be a week or 2 weeks. That's been removed from the contract. It's basically open-ended right now. So they could deliver at the end of the contract if they see in their time. I think one of the strategies that we need to implement now is we're not going to go as far back in the bill. We used to go back to about 100, 150 ton. But I don't want not to have the trucking available to get the material to us. I think we're going to go halfway back in the dome this year, and then we'll replenish it at that time then. Just to be on the safe side. But once again, we've never run out of salt, and I don't want to experience that this year. With agreeable weather, early in the month, we were able to do some asphalt patching on various roads. 16 tons of hot mix asphalt was used. There are still some spots out there we need to take care of, but I'll catch them next year. Some cold patching was done as well, and will continue in time and weather allow. One of the things as well that we're doing is reviewing the necessary maintenance on the projects that we have for next year that we're going to be doing. So we'll be looking at that real hard, and then we'll get a quick start in the spring to make sure we have those ready. One failed driveway culvert was replaced on Marydale Drive. This does take our culvert replacements, requests for residents down to 0. We've got all of them taken care of this year. I do have a couple for next year that I'm already talking with residents, but we're gonna wait till spring, early summer. High winds did bring down some limbs and branches mid-month, which were removed from the roadways. Once again, it was isolated, Stafford, out there in the north and east, just like we had this last storm on Saturday. Equipment and trucks were serviced and ready for winter snow removal and de-icing. Typically for the month, what we'll do is we put every piece of equipment and vehicle up on the lifts that we have, and we'll do the lubes, we'll do all the fluids, and we'll go over, check the springs, and check all the mechanical aspects of the undercarriage. Everything was fine. Once again, we did go out and we had a hose or two blow, but that happens, your first time or two out, you'll find something. We did have catastrophic failure on 2 plows of the same manufacturer. PJ, we talked about this. Parts alone for one plow was $3,500 for a single part. So what we did do is approach a local fabricator, made the parts for us. We did it 50% of the cost. We did a lot of the fabrication ourselves in the shop there, and my discussion with Mr. Ludwig, who is primarily our equipment purchaser, we're going to stay away from this brand of plow. We had we had one within the last 2 years, catastrophic failure. That's unacceptable. So when we do the upfit on these, we're going to explore different packages and different vendors to outfit the trucks.
Yeah, that's obviously a stress point.
That's, yeah, right. And the type of failure we experienced is unacceptable, so. And that's all I got, short one today.
Any message you want to, PJ, if we're working to your reports with Mr. Emmerich here as far as our road resolutions? or-
Sure, as long as Emmerich's right here, we might as well jump down the agenda a little bit and complete these resolutions of necessity, which are really the bulk of our construction projects for next year. So I'm going to give an overview here of resolution number 2022-42, convenience and necessity for the improvements of Thorpe Road. That's a chip seal project. It's from Portage County line, complete, right, Taylor May. We've got some in-house estimates, which are not engineer estimates will come after we complete this tonight and send it off and they start the engineering process. Our in-house look at this is about $119,000. Everybody's subject to inflation, and so are we. Anyway, so I'll go back to it. This is Thorpe Road chip seal. Board of Trustees determined the public convenience and welfare require the improvement of Thorpe Road from Portage County line to Taylor May. Be it resolved by unanimous vote of the board that the public convenience and welfare requires the improvement by the application of chip seal surfaces as necessary. Jog County Engineer is hereby directed to make such surveys, plans, profiles, cross-sections, estimates, and specifications as are required for the improvement, and to transmit copies of the same to this board. Costs and expenses of said improvements shall be apportioned as follows. Right-of-way costs, if any, and construction costs for the project shall be paid from local funding sources and state grants, should they be available. Engineering will be provided by the Geauga County Engineer at no cost to the township. Be it further resolved that the fiscal officer of the board is hereby instructed to transmit a certified copy of this resolution to the Geauga County Engineer. Okay, that was 2022-42, and I will make a motion to adopt.
Second?
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Gene.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is asphalt resurfacing of various roads. And those include Bridge Creek Trail, 9/10 of a mile. Frostwood Trail, 9/100 of a mile is Bridge Creek, 0.43 miles. Golden Pond Drive, 0.26. Bridge Creek Trail is longer than 9/100 of a mile.
Which one?
Bridge Creek, that's gotta be a misprint. That's 9/10 of a mile.
It should be 9/10.
Yeah. Longview Trail is about a half mile, and Sanctuary is just about 6/10 of a mile. Okay, so those roads, our in-house estimate on that is $762. Once again, the official estimate will come from the engineer before that goes to bid. So I'll go back and read this resolution. Board of Trustees determined public convenience and welfare require the improvement of Longview Trail, Bridge Creek Trail, Frostwood Drive, Golden Pond Drive, and Sanctuary Drive in Auburn Township. Engineers to prepare the engineering plans. Resolved that the unanimous vote of the board that the public convenience and welfare requires the improvement by repairing the existing pavement and embankments, asphalt resurface, stabilize the shoulders and related. As necessary, engineer is hereby directed to make surveys, plans, profiles, cross-sections, estimates, specifications as are required, and transmit copies of the same to this board. Costs and expenses of said improvement shall be apportioned as follows. Right-of-way costs, if any, and construction costs for the project shall be paid from local funding sources and state grants and/or loan funds should they be available. They're not. The engineering will be provided by the Geauga County Engineer at no cost to the township. And our Deputy Fiscal Officer is hereby instructed to transmit a certified copy of this resolution to the county engineer. That's 2022-43, and I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Gene.
Yes.
And Emmerich, when we're theoretically still on your nickel, can you contact the county and see if they would be so kind as to dump some gravel at the point on Washington and Bainbridge there? They do that periodically, basically when we say, hey, by the way, this hole's like 1.5 feet deep and somebody's gonna kill themselves. And then they'll complain about the fact that people shouldn't be driving on that. Well, people do. So,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and get a hold of them. I believe, don't put me here, I believe in phase 2 of Washington, I thought they're making that a 90-degree turn there now.
Yeah, they got some property to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna do it, but they did purchase that already.
Right, yeah,
Yep.
so hopefully that'll alleviate any of that there, but yeah, I'm gonna hold it.
yeah. Yeah, it's just, it gets pretty bumpy now. I was looking at it, looked like there was a little lake in there when I was coming back, so it's getting kind of deep.
I'll be glad when they make that a 90-degree turn.
That's
A lot of
been-
accidents
There
there.
is, and, yeah, it seems like the older you get, the harder it is to make
I
that
can't
turn
turn
all
my
the way.
neck all the
Yeah.
way around. I don't
To
even
do
go
that-
that way anymore. I
to do
take
that-
Snyder down.
To do that Linda Blair.
Yeah.
turn
Yeah.
your head backwards.
It's
That's
too much.
what's going on there.
That'd be a
My
good-
neck doesn't turn that much
That'd be a
anymore.
good spot for a circle, and then roundabout.
No.
Yeah, that's one option I'm glad I got on my car. Rearview mirror.
You've been to the new one in Manaway?
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Great.
everybody's kind of hesitant of who has the yield and who doesn't.
Once you get used to it, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay,
As long as you're driving a car or a small truck, if you're driving a big truck, it's not very good.
those 18-wheelers are going right up on that.
Right up on the
that
brick.
thing.
Yeah, who's got the right of way? I
Yeah.
do.
Okay, so, any questions for Mr. Emmerich from the audience?
I don't have any questions. We'll just take this time real quick to say thank you guys and probably head out. I don't want to take up too much time, but I want to make sure.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Train, you already gave your report as far as you have anything else, or?
I'm causing no trouble.
Causing no trouble, okay. Mr. Kavanaugh, do you have any more?
That's
to
the
add
bulk
on?
of it. That's about it. I'll probably
Okay.
think of something, but.
Okay. All right, just a few things. As you can see before you, you have the plans, the site plans, expansion of the parking lot for the Auburn Community Park from Hess and Associates. We are done with that, finally. We have the plans. It's been sent up to the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. We got a letter from Shane saying they have accepted it. And did I hear you say they're sending something up to the,
Yeah, we wrote the
Right.
check tonight, which is to include all the filing fees and stuff with the recorder's office and
Right.
whatever necessary county offices. I think we received this stuff, if I'm not mistaken, last Thursday. Does that sound right? And we were gonna forward that to our county prosecutor, Chrissy Ryan, and I believe that maybe was done electronically. I don't know
Okay.
that we've heard back, but, you know, I don't foresee any
I don't see.
more twists in the road here. But yeah, so once it goes back and forth between the legal beagles,
There's no place for me to sign. Sorry about that. All right, so we'll sign this, and then
it needs to be recorded.
we'll, right.
Wait a minute. Here too.
There's two places to sign, there's one there, and there's one there.
All right.
So that's taken care of. While they're signing that, one other thing I have, if you'll remember in the summer, Mr. Ludwig and I met with a company called Stonehugger Cemetery Restoration LLC. We met with a woman by the name of Helen Wildermuth, who was from Nashville, Indiana, and we were looking at fixing some of the headstones and the monuments in our cemetery. And she has finally given us an estimate on some of these things. Now, before everybody gets scared, and when I read some of these costs, there's probably 6 or 7 different things, from large stones to tablets to large monuments to small monuments with different cost prices. When we met with Helen, we decided, Michael Ludwig and I talked with her, and this wouldn't be a one-year project, that we could do this over several years, up to 5 years, if we wanted to do this. And I know that since we thought we had some art money, we could start at least fixing some of the bigger headstones. But just to give you an example, in Maple Shade Cemetery, I'll just give you one item. 5 extra large monuments at $600 each would cost us about $3,000. There's 52 tablets at $460 each. To reset in a base, clean, photograph, and document, you're looking at almost $23,000. Anyway, to take care of all the things that mentioned in Maple Shade, you're looking at about $80,000 to take care of those projects. If we went over to Shady Side Cemetery, again, we have stones leaning on the ground. There's 28 tablets at $460 each, which come to about $12,880. We have 20 large monuments at $525 each, which would come to about $10,500. And again, I'm not going to read every one of these with some of that are slanting, what have you, but the total price for Shady Side is $103,665. Now, there's no question that's a lot of money. The other question or situation is, one of the main duties of township trustees is to take care of their cemeteries. And there's no question we need to address some of these events, but we don't have to do them all in 1 year. So this could be a 5-year project. At a later date, we have till spring or whatever. Trustees will look over this. I'm hoping everybody got a copy of this, and we can go over and see what's necessary to do ASAP and go down the road, because again, we do have art money, we can use it for this, and again, it's something that, as a township trustees, we are required to take care of our cemeteries. And so we'll review this, and that's all I'll say about that.
Michael, remember this, Gene, this was before you were on the board, but township was beneficiary of donations
Right.
from the church
Yes.
when the church property sold.
Right.
$75,000, which we discovered later on is specifically designed to do exactly this.
There you go.
So,
We'll look at this, and like I said, we have a lot of time to look at this, and we'll pick out what we think is necessary for, and maybe we'll break it down, 1 through 5 years or whatever.
Well, like I said, if we've got that 75,000 and
Right.
we've got the ARPA funds,
Right.
hopefully we can exit that.
75,000 is a nice start on that.
It certainly is. Okay. The next thing I want to go over is, as those of you who attended our special Thursday meeting understand, we have a situation with our fiscal officer, Fred May. And at that meeting, we made Dan Matsko, Deputy Chief, to fill in for Fred until we see what his situation is. Dan is new to this job, and there's an awful lot to learn on the UAN computers to get brought up to speed. There are classes from the state, which Dan, I know, will be signed up for, but there's a lot to learn in a very short period of time. There are reports that have to be filed with the state. There are reports that have to be filed with the county. And in some of those reports, we are behind it. And Dan's being brought up to speed. I'm going to make a motion tonight. There's a lady who was a fiscal officer for Chardon Township when I was a trustee many years ago, and has since no longer a fiscal officer for Chardon, but she does go around and help communities that have a situation where they need help, they need to be brought up to speed, and I would suggest that Auburn Township is in that period right now. Dan needs some help from someone who's experienced on the state computers, and so at this time, I'm going to make a motion that we hire Joni Windnagel from Chardon Township at $25 an hour to help Dan get brought up to speed and work with our UAN and help us figure out where we are with our reports and how to work the UAN computer and be brought up to speed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I agree. Joni, I've known her for some time as well, and she's worked for, I'm just gonna name the ones that I know for sure, Parkman, Chester, Bainbridge, over the years as kind of a troubleshooter. She's qualified, she's experienced, she's local, and exactly the kind of person we need right now. So if you made that motion, I'm gonna second it.
Mike,
Yes.
TJ.
Yes.
Gene.
Yes,
Establish a rate.
establish rate at $25 per hour, starting
Is that,
tomorrow.
was that your motion?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
All right. We've already discussed old business.
Okay.
We're, it's you, buddy. Okay. Dan, did you were, go ahead.
I got one, let me
Wait,
jump,
whoa,
let me
whoa,
jump in
wait.
for a second. One more thing out of this storm we had on Saturday. Gene, I don't know if you heard about this, but some windows blew out over here at Town Hall. Emmerich and I talked about it late this afternoon. You wanna fill us in on this?
We had wind?
Yeah, we had some wind, it was localized, small area. We did have these storm windows blown out on, Old Town Hall. The summer windows are in there, they're intact. It's a 4-pane unit, it stands about 6 feet high or so, and a couple feet wide. All 4 panes are smashed in there, and we went over there, cleaned it up, so those will need to be replaced and reglazed and put back in
And
there.
there's some other ones that are showing some
other ones.
somewhere too. I did a drive-through at the museum.
Mhm.
I did not take a look at that old slate roof. I forgot to do that.
Okay.
So there's some TBD on damage to some of these older buildings here that I just wanted to point out. To be determined. That's all.
Okay, Dan, you're on.
This isn't on the agenda, but it came in late and it was old business. The BPI, the information systems quote that we had, I think the last meeting, he had asked if they would break out the monthly fees, so this quote does that. On page 2, I guess, billed monthly, Microsoft 360, okay, the monthly total was $863. $27.50 a month is the Microsoft 365. There's 5 of them. Non-profit staff pricing. One user billed monthly $27.50. BPI server monitoring and help desk, 1 server, 4 users, billed monthly $590. BPI managed service options, MFA antivirus, Office 365 backup, billed monthly $70. BPI managed server backup, 1 server, billed monthly $175.
I think he went over all those different things at the last meeting.
I don't think he had them broken down though.
No, the
No,
price
Yeah,
cost.
they asked
he did not, he asked for that, right?
He's still got that sales tax on there too.
Yeah, I guess he meant he just defined what each one of those were.
Yeah, but he's still got the sales tax on there too. which-
Yeah, well, we can get that out.
Yeah. Well, is some of that on this managed services in that 863? I would think some of that's taxes, isn't it? Probably,
I don't know.
would have to be.
The tax is gone on top of the 863.
It goes on top of that, so it shows up down here instead of
Right.
here.
Right.
Okay, then,
For 3,000.
all right then.
Well, I think we were all in agreement, this was the way we wanted to go, right?
Yeah, it's just, that was the only,
We
well,
wanted to
it's
break down.
expensive, but
Right,
we'd go less expensive, but it wouldn't be worth it, what we'd save to have a,
right.
or,
We need a motion to accept this quotation,
so moved.
Well, I would,
Less the sales tax?
yeah, less that sales tax.
make the motion.
Okay, so a motion to go with BPI for the, IT upgrade here at the office for the amount of $37,944.50.
I'll second.
Mike,
Yes,
DJ,
Yes,
Gene,
Yes.
and I think they were gonna start on that fairly
Right away,
quickly,
right.
from what I remember.
No, Christine needs to approve the master contract.
Oh, that's
pardon me?
right.
Oh,
Christine has to go over that.
That's right.
Okay. So do you wanna make that, amend that motion to that motion?
contingent.
And contingent on, legal counsel's review?
Gosh, I think everything is contingent on. You can amend it if you like, but it's going to the prosecutor's office, I think everything does.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Dan, you're still on.
Okay, yeah, I have a Resolution 2022-44, supplemental appropriations. The Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Geauga County, Ohio, met in regular session on the 5th day of December 2022. Present were Eugene McEwen, Patrick J. Kavanaugh, Michael S. Tryon. So move for the adoption of the following resolution. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Geauga County, Ohio, that it is necessary to adopt the following. Okay, the first one is for $3,500 supplemental appropriation to administrative fund, capital outlay, $1,760,730, improvement of sites, and that's to pay the CE amendment fee for the Cathan Farm, that conservatory. Bill for $3,500. There was no purchase order. I think you signed that tonight in the check. $7,000 supplemental appropriation to the administrative fund, administrative $1,110,599, other expenses, to pay miscellaneous other expenses for the remainder of the calendar year, and that is for the, there was no, the attorney fees and the civil forfeiture on that legal action. There was no money in this other account to pay for it, so I had to appropriate it and then get a purchase order and a check written. Next, the next two, or three actually, pertain to our medical premium, our health insurance premium. The PO had run out of funds for this year, so in order to make the December payment, I had to subtract $10,000 supplemental appropriation from the Road and Bridge Fund Highways account, 2031-330-360 contracted services, and then add $10,000 supplemental appropriation to the Road and Bridge Fund Highways account, 2031-330-221 medical hospitalization, in order to pay the December health insurance premium. And then included in that was $1,000 supplemental appropriation to the Special Levy Fire Fund, administrative 2191-110-221 medical hospitalization to pay the December health insurance premium for the fire chief. Therefore, the board adopts the aforesaid. Second resolution. Okay. Anybody get it first?
We need a motion to accept the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Gene.
Yes. Somebody else need to sign that one. Do you have anything else, Dan?
No.
No. Okay, we have a few more things. We received a franchise fee from Charter Communications for $5,239.71. And the next thing that's on the agenda here in new business is to set the date for the Auburn Community Picnic in the Park. And in parentheses, it says Saturday, September 16th, 2023. Is that, let me just ask, I've been gone for a while, is that usually when you hold this, in September?
It's when we have historically, yeah, we started with the Sneaka Peaks, I believe they were called, when we really didn't have much park stuff going on yet. And then we did 2 parties, or was it 3? 2. They were pretty good events, pre-COVID. So the last one was probably we probably did them in 18 and 19. 2021, everybody knows what happened. And we started kicking it around up here, I'm going to say a month and a half, 2 months ago. And Carl Schneider, who's one of our regulars here, kind of wonder where he is tonight.
Raise your hand, Carl.
There he is, okay, didn't see you over there by that chair.
He's hiding out.
Brought it up at the last meeting, and I said, funny you should ask. So, yeah, we kind of picked out a date. That date in order to miss the clam
Clam
bake
bake.
after the fair. So the 2, 3, at least weeks prior to that are kind of cobbled up with other township events. Any later than that, weather can get iffy. I think one year actually, we were about 95 degrees up there, and the next year was like a nice fall day, about 70. So, yeah, that mid-September seemed to work.
If that's the date that works and that's the date they had, it seems fine. It just seems strange to me that if a community, you usually think June or July, May, but if September works for everybody, that's, you know,
Well,
you
one
can-
good thing about September is that most of the family vacations are over, kids are back in school, everybody's back in the area. So, you know, I mean, you can pick any time of the year and find a problem with it, but.
And Carl drives the hayride, and he doesn't have any air conditioning on that tractor. So,
Okay,
Yeah, Carl, we're having it in your backyard, when do you wanna have it? You're the deciding factor.
so we're talking about September 16th.
yeah, there was some thought of adding a rain date, but
That's Rosh Hashanah.
the 16th is it?
Yes.
Is it really?
16th.
The difficulty with a rain date is she's trying to book food trucks, some
Games.
musical performances, and you pay. If you have somebody give up 2 weekends,
Yeah,
because
with
you
the
have a rain
bounce
date,
houses
you
and all
pay
the
for
other
it.
stuff, there's a lot of.
So I think it's gonna be a rain or shine time kind of thing.
Auburn Community Picnic. Okay, it's in the book.
Yeah, I'll make a motion then, we set the date for that picnic in the park.
Do you have a question before he makes the motion?
What, to make the picnic in the park?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
okay, September 16th,
I'll second it.
and then we'll start
Mike,
making commitments.
Yes,
TJ,
Yes.
Gene.
Yes. Okay, what, do you have a comment before?
I think I have 3 issues that I would like to bring up for the township. And 2 of them concern the fiscal position and the solvency of the township. And we have received wide, let's just say, more than one public concern about the situation that the township is in and the opportunity for resolving it, in a positive fashion, etc. Given that information, it has come to our attention that can you clarify any issues about Joan Nagel? And we're not questioning her expertise or, our knowledge of her skills. However, we'd like some verification about when this decision to hire was made. We didn't hear it in public.
You just heard it tonight.
Yeah, but when was the commitment made to hire Joan?
Tonight.
Tonight. Can you confirm, I think the concern was it a hiring or was it as a, an official kind of position?
I think I would call it an emergency hiring that we did tonight.
Okay, well, there has been widespread, I won't say, verification of that, but there has been some widespread concern that we've been aware of for a while, and we would just like to confirm that this is a situation that is on the up and up, and that it won't cause any of us any problems or questions legally as a result of this action.
I don't know what you mean by widespread.
Widespread.
Widespread what?
Widespread information about
What's widespread information?
simply, more than one.
About what? I'm not sure what you're.
About the actual hiring, and I think what we have experienced is a question of, who made that outright action? Was it, and how long has Mrs. Lindman known about that that she.
We have
received.
talked to Mrs. Van Nagel, but we made it official tonight, that we're hiring her officially tonight. She will
Okay.
start working with Dan tomorrow morning.
Okay, and was there any knowledge of that when the other situation came
We
up
didn't know
last
about the
Thursday?
other situation any sooner than you did.
Okay, okay, glad to
Yeah,
hear
we
that.
didn't know about things until they got arrested.
I'm
They
sorry?
didn't show up, okay?
Oh, that's not
I mean, if that's what, if you're talking about his, Mr. May's situation,
No.
we didn't hear about it until a reporter called me. I was traveling and a reporter called me and said about his situation. Up until that point, I had not known that he was not here.
Okay, and I'm not sure that's the situation I'm concerned about. I just, as you know, we have been concerned about, you know, transparency and, not creating situations that, you know, might raise some doubt later on. We're not commenting on the quality of help or anything like that, just to make sure that you guys are CYA, and that's all that we can wish for, I think. A couple of other concerns. Mr. Masco, we're grateful for your service to the community, but can you verify any actions that you have taken regarding position in the fire department that will, you know, resolve any questions of doubt and not create any conflicts later on?
Can I answer?
You certainly can.
I officially resigned from the fire department, 9 AM,
Thursday
9:20
morning.
AM. I have an email and a letter of resignation to verify it
On file.
on file Thursday morning, prior to my being sworn in here.
And are there any actions on the part of the fire department either to, you know, add someone within that post to?
That's a question for the fire department.
Of
Dan,
course.
Dan has an assistant, she's gonna
Okay.
fill the spot temporarily.
Okay, that's good, I appreciate that information, and we wish you all the best, of course, and I hope you know that.
Thank you.
And the final concern is, what, you know, what protections you have in this contract in case of, I shouldn't say in case of, but guaranteeing the townships and the taxpayers' protection in the case of any non-fulfillment or of the terms of this contract with BPI.
Well, you heard us say it's gonna go before our legal counsel before we sign it. You heard us talking about that.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
But, all right, and that's fine, and we appreciate that, and in the event of, let's just say that, you know, it's probably good not to be a victim in any way, and many of us have been with business situations, and we hope to learn from them and do a better job. So I wonder if you could comment on any protections that you have provided with BPI, you know?
I think the reason that we took this action is so that we don't have a situation.
Okay. Well, a lot of vendors, I'm sure you're aware, when it's,
Well.
yeah, you know,
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
So, you know, and it remains to be seen as time goes on. Sometimes caveat emptor, and just being on top of the situation so that we don't wind up the unwitting victim. And we have seen that happen in this community as well with entities that have had good intentions with business relationships and wound up having to adjust to those.
Well,
So,
I hope you can see that by the actions of this board on a lot of things this year, is we're trying to do our best
of
to
course,
protect Auburn Township and the taxpayers and their tax money.
of
Now,
course.
I just want to clarify a few things of your earlier comments about widespread whatever.
Yeah, there have been.
Did we know that Fred had some personal issues earlier on? Yes, we did. They didn't affect the township up to any point, and as all of us thought, he was having that taken care of. He had a problem. That's when we made the decision to hire an assistant in case that situation got worse. We didn't know it would get worse. We had no idea it would get worse.
Or how
But
fast it would get
Or how
worse.
fast it would get worse. And so we wanted to be prepared just in case. And as you can see, we made the right decision in that call. And like I said, as far as anything, we try to be open with everybody. We didn't find out what happened any faster than any of you did. And luckily, we had Dan in place, and yes, he's helped us with checks and that, but he's still not up to speed on things he needs to know as far as filing reports, end-of-year reports, and that's why we're bringing Ms. Wendagel in to help him bring up to
Because
speed as fast as he can.
Dan was working on certain things under Fred to help Fred get caught up,
Right,
but there were still things that Fred was taking care of.
right.
So now, Dan really doesn't have any experience in those things, and he's kind of dead in the water.
Understood.
And with Jody's experience, we needed somebody who could fast track those items because,
And be a mentor as well as,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, there's more than one reason why
Right.
incoming elected fiscal officers get elected first of November and they don't start their job until April 1st.
Yeah.
There's
and
five,
we
there's 4 or
understand that
5
as
months
well.
of preparation.
I think the final question I might ask, not, just, you know, is there a fixed time period for Joni to assume these duties, or?
I think that stands to be seen, how fast we can bring
Right.
Dan up to speed.
Right, right, so will that be?
It might be a week, it might be a month, it might be 2 months.
Okay, is she aware of that her mentorship and her,
This is not a full-time position.
Yeah, this isn't full-time. This
Okay,
is-
so it's like as needed,
Right.
as appropriate?
Right.
Okay, okay, understood.
We may, I would suspect, I don't know how any of this is gonna turn out, actually, nobody does. Because you got an elected, and now you have a deputy, and,
Do they
You can-
conflict?
well,
Salaries,
Yeah,
yes.
possibly.
yeah, there's some things to
There's a
work out.
possibility.
Yes,
Okay.
that, it's new ground, you know, or, I'm sure it's happened before
It's
elsewhere,
happened
but it
before,
sure is
of
new here.
course. And
Anyway.
it's- Yeah,
I would foresee, like many townships at this end of the county, with bigger budgets and now with all the COVID nonsense, at least a part-time assistant for the fiscal officer in the future here. It's probably overdue.
And
And that's
PJ's
reasonable.
absolutely right, because as you know, I was a trustee 16 years ago,
Oh, really?
and a lot has changed in those 16 years. And when I saw, and you saw the raises that we gave to our employees, duly deserved, because what they're doing now versus what they were doing when I was here the first time is incredible. And right, PJ hit it right on the head. Fred probably should have had an assistant way before this, and like I said, we're doing our best to make sure we're protecting Auburn Township tax dollars and keeping us where we need to be.
well, I hope, you know, when we get back and, you know, that we can all say, yeah, this was an improvement, and there was a step to learn for all of us in the future, and so, of course, the wish remains that it is a positive experience from whatever may have occurred, and that's all we can wish for. So,
We'll all keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best, but it's our job as elected officials to make sure we keep running smoothly, and that's what we're trying to do.
okay, but just to end this conversation, so as of right now, Joni is an employee, not an official, well, I can't say to that. But as of right now, she is just an employee, and when the time comes.
And I wouldn't even know if she's an
She's more of a
employee.
consultant.
She's an employee.
She's also, she's not really an
That's
employee.
fine.
Yeah.
Hourly
That's-
employee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We've had it on
yeah, and that's fine, just, okay, thank you for that. that explanation.
Okay. All right, the only other thing I see that we need to discuss before we adjourn tonight is, as you know, we always have our organizational meeting the first Monday in January, but this year, that would be January 2nd, the day after New Year's Day.
Which is actually the holiday.
Which actually is the holiday. So I would think that maybe if we're gonna meet twice in January, I would make the motion that we should probably meet on the 9th and the 23rd, since you have an extra Monday in January. Would that fit everyone's agenda?
I'd say that would make more sense.
Makes the most sense, I
So-
agree.
What we'll do is, at the start of the new year, the organizational meeting will be on January 9th.
Make it by motion, Gene.
I'm making a motion right now, by 9, on January 9th, that we will have our organizational meeting, and then we will meet again for our second meeting on the 23rd,
And those will be at 7:30.
7:30.
I'll second.
Be here or be square.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ.
Yes,
Gene.
Yes,
Who made the motion?
Gene.
I did.
I seconded.
Okay, I'm gonna slip a couple other quick things here. Dan, can you pass me down the minutes from the December 1st meeting? PJ snitched those from me before I could sign them. Secondly, franchise fees. I'd like to make a motion to move those into the land acquisition and improvement fund for $5,239.71.
I'll second.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Gene.
Yes.
What was that for?
$5,239.71. That's the franchise fees from Charter Communications.
Oh.
Yeah, it
And
was the minutes from the 11th.
All right.
I also
From the first.
signed the minutes for, if you remember, the special, what did we call it, to review where the only two members of that were myself and Fred. As you can see, Fred is not here to sign those minutes, and the prosecutor, I saw a note, suggested that one signature is better than none, so I did sign those minutes.
Well, records retention.
The records retention. Okay. Before I make a motion to adjourn, is there any other comments or anything from the people? Yes, Tom?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for taking care of the headstones. We've been trying to do some genealogy over in Europe, only to discover that headstones last 25 years, then they're ground up for gravel.
In Europe?
In Europe, in Germany, and in Hungary. Both those countries. They're 25 years, and they're gone.
Probably a reason for that, but,
Makes it kind of hard to trace records.
yeah, they probably want it.
So,
No
take
comment.
them while you can get them,
Yes.
if they're
Absolutely.
important to your genealogy.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Is there a meeting on the 19th?
On the 19th of this month?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not listed on the minutes or on the agenda here, that's why
I'll be sure to reprimand her tomorrow.
Make sure.
Okay, any other comments? Once again, as always, we appreciate you taking an active interest in community township business. Thank you for being here, and with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, those are.